Do you ever make someone upset? So upset that they up and walk away? God will do this with his own chosen people. Let's think about it. Hey, my name's Justin Harrell. I challenge you to challenge yourself to think about less taught biblical topics. God keeps showing up in the Old Testament. Over and over again, we see mention of the angel of the Lord. By this point in the series, you're well aware that this is no ordinary angel. This is the visible manifestation of Yahweh. Sometimes it seems cryptic, but there's always clues to let you know who this angel really is. But in Judges 2, it's so blatant. I don't think there's a clearer spot in Scripture identifying who the angel of the Lord really is. At this point in the story of Scripture, God is so upset with his people for not completely obeying him. They didn't completely drive out the inhabitants of the land. And this will lead to problems. God knows this, and he's about to walk away.
Hold it! One more step and we're walking!
So he shows up in person to give them one last speech. Judges 2, 1-5. Now the angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochim. And he said, I brought you up from Egypt and brought you into the land that I swore to give your fathers. I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and you shall make no covenant with the inhabitants of this land. You shall break down their altars, but you have not obeyed my voice. What is this you have done? So now I say, I will not drive them out before you, but they shall become thorns in your sides, and their gods shall be a snare to you. As soon as the angel of the Lord spoke these words to all the people of Israel, the people lifted up their voices and wept. And they called the name of that place Bochim, and they sacrificed there to the Lord. They called the name of the place Bochim because they really botched it. Okay, that's not really what Bochim means, but it's kind of funny and it helps you remember it. Bochim means weeping. Now the first verse in chapter 2 really gets me thinking. Now the angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochim. He went up from one place to another. Did he walk? Did he take his royal chariot? He's going from one place to another. This is probably something the average person doesn't take the time to think about. We always just picture God as some booming voice coming out of the sky.
That is correct.
But the angel of the Lord is a person that you can see. So what mode of transportation was used? I mean, at the end of the day, it's really not that important. But what I'm getting at is, God is taking time to travel from one place to another. He's involved in our history. And right here in this simple little verse, we just have this mention that God's traveling from one place to another. Also notice that the angel claims to be the same God that made promises to Abraham, and the same God that led Israel out of Egypt. Note the language being used here. And he said, I brought you up from Egypt and brought you into the land that I swore to give to your fathers. I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and you have not obeyed my voice. So now I say, I will not drive them out before you. See how obvious this text is? This angel is claiming to be the very God that led them out of Egypt. The very same God that made that unconditional covenant with their father Abraham. And now here he is in Judges 2, letting them know that because of their disobedience, he's no longer going to be involved in their conquest. He will not help them drive out the inhabitants of the land anymore. Now without God, these people are helpless. They need him to be victorious. But since they didn't trust him, they're going to now see what it's like to do things in their own strength. This leads to a period of time where Israel goes into bondage and they're oppressed by other peoples until they cry out for deliverance from God. Then God will send forth a deliverer to set them free. But this never lasts. The people in times of peace and prosperity soon forget God. This turns to a cycle of on again, off again. Times are good, they forget God.
Then they go into bondage, then they cry out, then God delivers them, then times are good, then they forget God.
Then they go into bondage, then they cry out, then God delivers them, then times are good, then they forget God. Then they go into bondage, then they cry out, then God delivers them, then times are good, then they forget God.
And so on and so forth. Does this sound like something you deal with? Calling out to God in times of need, but forgetting him once life returns to some sense of normalcy? If so, you are behaving just like ancient Israel. If only they had consistently served God, many of the bad times would have been avoided. It's something they should have thought about. And you should too.